Shall we start, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Satvik, can you please mute your video? Yes. So, good afternoon, all. So, welcome you all for the third session for e-symposium. I welcome Samantha to give official welcome and profile introduction about the speaker. Thank you for with your busy schedule, coming well in advance and spending time with for us to giving your experience. So we will give a official welcome. Mr. Samantha is our PhD scholar. She will be giving an official welcome for the speaker for this session. I hand over to Samantha.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the ACM Student Chapter, Christ deemed to be the University and the Department of Computer Science, I welcome you all to this next session on effective data storytelling using data science. Before we move on to the session, I would like to introduce the speaker for the day, Mr. Bastin Robin J. Mr. Bastian has worked on many data science and machine learning algorithms extensively. His work is highly concentrated on recommendation systems, spam filtering, user modeling, fraud detection, social graph mining, emotional modeling, sentimental analysis, graph research, and churn prediction. Currently is a chief data scientist and head of data science and AI in Clever Insight for past 3 years. Is responsible for the development of their data platform called Neuro AI. Is taking care of their open source data pre-processing engine called Cognito and Sparks libraries. Is been researching on handling unstructured data for industries such as FMCG and manufacturing, is actively speaking for the company and the brand at data conferences, is also mentoring other growing data scientists for many years. He was a principal data scientist in Hash Research, where he led the research and development of Hash Research Lab. He is also responsible for developing and leading the engineering team. Before we begin, I would like to request all the participants to mute their audios and switch off their videos. I would also request the participant to type in their questions in the comment section and not to ask it directly. We will try to cover all the questions, but if we overshoot the time limit, we will have to skip a few. Without further delay, let me invite Mr. Bastin Robin J. to begin his presentation. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Samantha. So I think after a long day, like morning 2 sessions, like after lunch, I think most of them will be a little dull. But let me. So the reason why I just chose this particular time frame was like, let me try to wake you all up and let me take you to a complete data science. So it'll be little informal and it'll be little more fun in this particular session. So try to just, if you're having any question, just note it down. At the end, I will be happy to answer you all. And moreover, as Samantha said, like kindly mute your audio, so we can go have a seamless session this time. And by end of this session, I'm just collecting feedback. It's just for a basic analysis, so kindly take time to attend also. In case any kind of network fluctuation happens, I'll rejoin, so don't get panic onto it. Fine. So I think my screen is visible to everyone, right? My screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay. So today the topic is effective story using. I hope most of people could have been heard about storytelling. Like when you move, a good movie has certain levels of aspects into it that only makes a complete story better. There are good movies which doesn't require any if the story is strong, ultimately the story itself becomes a hero. So anyone fit into it can make impact to the story. So like data science career or what is it or think, are always having something called a data storyline. So storyline will make your project successful. So first you get data, then you filter it out, and then you visual build story. That's what you can see in this particular slide also. So with data, great power, great reliability. So when you are focusing on building stories from your data, that means that you are taking a big responsibility. It's a big power. Building a story from data is a very big power, but same time it comes with a greater responsibility. There are several scenarios you might have heard about, like graphs do lie. So if you are taking a wrong graph for a type of data which you cannot interpret properly, ultimately that will give you a wrong output. I mean, like, it will give you a wrong conclusion. That will make a very big disaster. So that's what I say before this session itself. When you handle with data, it's a greater power. Any person who is having the data has greater power, but with the same time, it comes with a greater responsibility. So what are we running towards? In this particular session, we will see, you might have listened about machine learning, deep learning, and neural network and all these things. You could have heard about it. But I think the fulcrum of entire data science lies before all that layer. That is right from collecting the data and taking the right data, then giving it to a model support. That's where it becomes a complete lifeline. So this entire talk will be about scope of this, and what type of data sources available, and how you prepare data, how you build insights from it, and how you share your story. You might have heard about, like, when any data scientist who comes for any TEDx or any kind of talk, you will be really getting attracted to that particular talk because of, not he was highly technically sounded person, but it was like the way he narrates a story. That makes a bigger sense. So let's go deeper into it. Before you create any kind of stories, you need to ask certain levels of question. That is, like, who are you writing for? Number one. When you create any data story, you have to see for whom I am going to write. Example, whether I am going to present it in front of a CEO or a project manager. Next thing is, what are you trying to communicate? So here you have to be very much on to the point. What is a specific thing what you want to communicate to them? And next thing is, why you feel it is important. That, for example, like, when you go and tell a story, ultimately they'll be telling, like, why you want to tell this particular thing. So you have to have this basic framework. That is, like, who are you writing for, and what are you trying to communicate, and why it is so important. When you bring all these three things together, then ultimately your story gets into a shape. Fine. So before going deeper into storytelling, let me take a little bit from the past your sessions. Like, morning you could have attended about machine learning, and next is about different types of prediction, and all these things you could have understood. But before going a little more deeper, I'm going to clarify certain things. I'm going to simplify certain things for people who may be pretty much new to this particular talk. So in any kind of analysis, consider, like, whether any data science related project or NLP, machine learning, everything else, there is 4 different phases are there. So let's discuss that 4 phases initially. So consider, in this situation, I'm taking an example of a doctor. Okay, you're a patient, you're going to a doctor. So when you go to a doctor first, the doctor will be first asking about what are your symptoms, and how much was your blood level, cholesterol level, and what medicine you took in the past. All the data the doctor will collect from you are the past data. Anything what you were doing till now. That particular phase is about descriptive phase. Okay. After this, the doctor will ask you, okay, these are the issues you are having. Now let's do one thing, like, can you go and finish all this test and come? So doctor will write a couple of tests for you, just go and finish it and come. That is in the real time it is happening. So you have to go immediately from the doctor's place to the lab and conduct all this research, take the results and take it back to the doctor. This is happening in the real time. So it is present. This particular phase is called diagnostic phase. Okay. So first is talking about past, whatever is known. Next is talking about what is happening now. So in the past, you might have had blood sugar level will be pretty much higher. Now the sugar level has come down, cholesterol has hiked up. So these things you can analyze. So you need past and present. After this particular phase, now it's the term of a doctor. That is like the doctor will think, okay, yesterday he was having a blood sugar level like this much, and this is the cholesterol level this much, and maybe he can get a higher BP tomorrow. Your BP can shoot up, or like your cholesterol can shoot up. So based on past and present, the doctor predicts a future. That particular phase is called predictive phase. Okay. So in the present scenario, the three past, present, and future are 80 to 90% automatable. Okay, so most of people who enter into data science domain always feel that this three phases is all about data science, but actually they really forget one thing very, very important. That is, these three are not fundamental. These are not the main element of data science. It is about the next thing. That is like, after the doctor predicts what will happen to you tomorrow based on your past and present, the doctor converts those three analyses into an action called prescriptive phase. So he takes a prescription pad and writes a prescription that, like, okay, take this tablet morning and evening, take this syrup only on afternoons. So he will write it and give you. He doesn't write what he predicted there, but he writes an action there. So you can see that past, present, and future are three phases, which is about the timeline of analysis. You are doing it on a person or on a particular topic. Then finally, the doctor is able to write a prescription. So the doctor is able to write a prescription just because of only one reason, that is, he is an expertise in that particular domain, right? A doctor is well versed in healthcare domain. He can prescribe a medicine for you. The same concept, you take it across any different industries, right? Anyone will not directly jump into building predictions. Anyone will not directly jump into like write prescriptions. You always have to follow these four phases of analysis. That's why these are called the pillars of data science. That is like descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. You can see past, present, future, and converting all the three into an action. That is called prescriptive phase. This is the reason whenever anyone come up and saying like, if I want to become a data scientist, then I will say like, the best thing is pick one domain. Let it be healthcare, telecom, or any industry, and master in that. Then you will know that data better. Then only you can apply those principles into your real-time scenarios. So data science, a big buzzword which is happening now, but it is going to have one tough time. Like you can see the market is full of buzzwords and a lot of people want to become a data scientist. This is exactly like the scenario what happened for computer science domain. You might have heard about like 10 years before, when computer science domain was booming, everyone want to become a computer engineer. So what happened is that everyone started to go and take computer science and engineering degree. Ultimately, the quantity has increased, and we never have that much bandwidth to serve all these people. Ultimately, the quality degraded. Now, in this present day scenario, what happened is like, rather than computer becoming a specialized domain, it became a part of every single domain. Let it be a chemist, or let it be a doctor, let it be any different domains of people, their computer science become a part of it. Exactly like that, data science also will become a part of every single job. Okay, so rather than specializing on that, when you take that particular field one as a supporting element for your current domain, that's where the real beauty of data science comes in. Okay, till now we know about what is the phases of data science happening. Let's take one example. So this is one example which is, most of people could have heard about Titanic incident. Titanic ship was broken. The people died. So this is a simple data set from that kind of incident. So you are having an ID from that particular data set. Name is there, age is there, and survived or not survived. During the Titanic incident, most people died, most people survived. So whoever has survived, they have put yes, and whoever have not survived, they have put no. But you can see 6 and 7, John and Kim, both of them are confusion. We don't have data for them. Whether they are survived or survived, we don't know. Maybe they may be missed. So then this kind of data, when machine learning engineers start building a prediction model, they were able to predict it with 70% accuracy. Actually, the 30% accuracy seems to be good, but this is not the best. So when I try to see like how can I increase my accuracy, there are only two ways to increase accuracy. Either you need to have number of columns more, I mean like number of features, or you need to fine tune this particular model by doing a lot of feature engineering. Okay, so consider like I mean this column. This is a discrete column. I mean like this is the identifier, and age is a discrete variable. Gender is a class variable, and survived also is a class. Like binary also you can keep. So if I want to predict kind of whether yes or no, one or zero, two or four, that is a binary classification. So it is a classification problem. If I want to predict a number, that becomes a regression problem. Okay. So this kind of data set they got it, now they need more in order to increase the accuracy of this model. So what they did only one thing. They added a column called number of kids. So you can see here the same data set, but you are in a new column, number of kids, which is having 0 to 3 as a range. So how this column was created. Now let's take a very simple logic. So if gender is female and age is between 18 to 25, chances of having kid is 1. Okay. If gender is female and age is between 25 to 35, chances of having kid is 2. Next, if gender is female and again age is between 35 to 45, chances of having 3. Just keep it like a rough hypothesis. Like they added this, and for male it is like kept 0 due to a plus. Now, when this model was trained in the same classifier, the accuracy went from 1% accuracy from 70. So what does magic happen? Is adding any column will make any sense? No. The reason I am showing examples during Titanic incident, like the lifeboat was given for females with kids. Okay, so there is a clear the reason here why we had number of kids. We want to see who are women having kids. So if they were having kids, there are 99% chance they could have survived. That
Hello,
is the
sir.
reason
Sorry, Robin, sir.
column.
Sorry to interrupt, but your voice is
Yes, ma'am.
breaking actually. I think there's a. Okay.
Okay.
So your voice is breaking in the middle.
Network issue, right?
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
fine.
Is it
Is it
fine?
fine? Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
ma'am. Please let me know.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes, you just
Yeah.
remind me because I will repeat it.
Okay,
No
sir.
problem.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this condition, like what happened was like adding this particular column was because of one reason, that is we need to find all the women who were having kids here. So this particular situation, what happened, the domain knowledge plays a major role. Because I know what happened during the Titanic incident, I was able to add a new feature into this particular data set. That is the reason we were able to predict it correctly, and the predicted outcome was 90%. And now, when I'm going to predict any one particular column which is having a label, these are called labels, the column names. Whenever I am using any algorithm to predict any one column, whether I want to predict an age or gender or survive, these kinds of problems are called supervised learning. Okay. Now, take the same data set. I'm bringing a same data set here and I'm removing the column from that. The column name has been removed, like name, age, and all these things have been removed, but rest of the rows are kept like that. Now you can see that there is no label, there is no column name. You cannot consider the first row as a column name because everything is dynamically changing. It never makes any sense. So when I'm putting this particular data into a model, keep it like an X model, a black box model. When I'm putting into it, the model will look for the labels. The labels are not present. So that supervised models will not work on these kinds of data. Now, I'm just applying into another type of model where when I'm applying it, ultimately it is taking all the data and it is finding similarities of it. It will look for rows which are similar together but based on certain characters of all these columns, and they group it into different clusters. Now, I never gave any column name or any feature was not present, but it gave me a cluster based on certain likelihood of each rows. This kinds of problems are called unsupervised learning. So you might be thinking like, why supervised, unsupervised, and all this thing, but why these two? Okay, because in a data storytelling, it is not just about telling a story. You really need to know when to apply all these things and which is the ideal time where you can apply. So next question mostly you will be having is like, which tool should I use to do any kind of analysis, build any stories? These are the common questions which comes. So let's go a little more deeper. I strongly believe in one thing called tools are important, but technique is everything in data science. Fine. So enough of theory now. Let's jump into the real situations. Now, I'm going to show you one particular example that is like, we conducted different types of webinars. Okay, so during every webinars, what we do is like, we normally collect feedbacks. I think you will be also using different data as a feedback. Even you can consider like the online examination which are happening these days, where you'll be having multiple choice questions and different things will be given. The biggest challenge we everyone have is whether the people are trying to fake it. So can we understand whether people are trying to fake certain times of exam? Let's see how it is. So this is one specific data set which I'm going to show you, that is about a feedback. So let me share my, let me take the data. I hope everyone can see my Excel sheet. Can everyone see my Excel? Can everyone say yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect. So this is a very simple. I've just removed the columns called email, name, organization, etc. All these things. So this is one data set. So today you're going to see how we are going to create a story from this. Okay, this is a very important thing. Like, let's see. So I am collecting a timestamp, that is like what time it's been submitted, and designation of the person who has submitted the feedback. Next, effectiveness of the webinar, that is like strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Presentation also same scale, 5 scale. Interested in upcoming session, same. Q1, Q2, Q3 are 3 questions from the same webinar. Then which topics excited you? Do you wish to attend any more? Then why did you join us? Then overall rating and comments. So it's, we are having close to 300, 400 rows are there. So what we did is like, we removed the name, email, and all these columns, and let's consider that 2, 3, 4, 5 as the unique ID of whom we want to see. So okay, now this is the 3 important thing which I really want to look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like, we are having neutral, agree, disagree, strongly disagree. I really want to see only people who strongly disagree. So let me do one thing. Let me go and just use a very simple conditional formatting here. So let me put like, give me red color for people who says strongly disagree. Okay. Okay, I've added. Now again, agree also. Next one also I'll go. One more I've added. That is like, I want to see all the people who disagree also. Disagree. Also red color. Okay, I've added it. And let's leave all other things. Like even neutral, we can give little blue. So you can see people who are telling this, I can put little yellowish color. That is neutral. Neutral. So I think I have filled different colors here. Okay, now let me increase it. Let me take agree also. I can take it equal to agree. I will give a color of green. Sorry, I will give a color of green, and for strongly agree also I'll give green color. So I'm just separating people and their opinions. So you can see here. Strongly agree. Okay, sorry. I have to add one more thing. It is strongly agree. Fine. So now I have just separated people who have given strongly agree and disagree, etc. Now what I'm going to to do here is like, let me select these three things. Let me do a simple filter. I'm creating a filter here. And I want to see people who says they disagree, they strongly disagree. Okay. And even neutral also you can take it. Nothing wrong in it. So when I filter these people, okay, you can see here a person saying neutral, neutral, neutral. Okay, fine, pretty much okay. Now you can see they have given this person is like strongly disagree, strongly disagree, strongly disagree. But when you see their comments, like it's a clear, they're telling like clear explanation, nice, and their overall rating they have given out of 5 is 5. So let me rank this one also. Let me put a color for this also. So okay. Now let me again once again filter it in neutrals and can you see here? People who are strongly disagreeing for all these things, but they're giving an overall rating of 5. And you take all the comments here. They're telling the thing is like it's a very good session, very interesting session, all these things they are telling. But what happened is that all these things are strongly disagree, agree. Okay, this was the first level of analysis to see people who are selecting one factor, but their another factor is totally opposite to it. So there is a kind of anomaly which is happening. So what we did is like for every webinar, we started to create 3 questions based on that. So Q1, Q2, Q3. So this 3 questions also we'll do a basic conditional formatting. That is like, okay, like 3 types of people are 3 types. So I'm going to add a new role here. That is like, I'm going to put a classic one and I will put, or else I will put like normal equal to itself, equal to. So the correct answer is iron. The correct answer. So I will give it a green color. So we can separate them green as given. Okay. And the wrong answers are John and Sam. 3. It's like a selection, like multi-selection, where like you can select any one from a given list. So here I'm going to put John, and this is the wrong answer, so I'm giving red. And Sam is also a wrong answer. So let me go and put Sam also is the wrong answer. Okay. Now second question. Let me take the second question. Okay. And the second question also, let me put equal to, and let me apply. Okay. I was talking about a company called Simply Buy. Okay. Simply Buy. And I'm going to give this color as green color because it's a correct answer. Rest of things are wrong answers. So Idea Buy and Easy Buy both are wrong answers. So let me put Idea Buy, wrong answer, and Easy Buy is also a wrong answer. So Easy P2Y. Okay, so that is also fine. Now let me take 1 second. Third question also, the answer is GST. Okay, so let me put a color for that. That is like equal to, when it is GST, it should be green. VST, it should be green. And if it is medicine and exercise, it's a wrong answer. So to medicine, right? And one more thing, exercise. Exercise also is a, okay. Now, what happened here is, consider like, okay, this person has genuinely agreed because this is a right, it's a correct one. I mean, like this person has really attended the session and given the rating. This person has not attended the question session. That's the reason you can see a lot of things is totally different. So this person really attended it because like more, no, he's not attended because like he's randomly selected these things. These people are people who have really attended correct. So what happened was like after the session finished, we gave a particular link. Whoever filled that particular feedback form, they will be getting an e-certificate. So what happened is people who never attended the session also got this particular link and they start filling things. So when they fill something, they blindly fill something. Okay, they blindly randomly select. So any kind of random selections can be easily take bought into analysis, and we can just fine tune those kinds of activities here. Okay, let's take this one step ahead. Now I've used all this Excel tricks to do all these things. So let me see a different way where I can handle the same problem. Okay. Now coming to this Python, like I'm using pandas for doing analysis on the same data. So what I did is like, first, let me start with line by line. So I'm importing pandas library, numpy library, cbound library, and I'm setting a basic. This is not needed. This is I'm just setting the width of this Jupyter notebook. So let me execute this. Okay. Now the library is being imported. Now I'm just reading the same data set into a data frame called df. Now you can see that df.columns, I got all the columns in the data set, whatever has been given. So let's preview what the data set looks like. You can see the same data set, time is there, destination, effectiveness, and everything are there. And there is one comment section also there. Okay, now let me see this distribution of how these three variables are, like effectiveness of the lecture. So for that, I can do one thing, like let me comment this line so we will be able to understand what I'm doing. From the data frame, I'm picking the effective column and doing a value count. So I can see, and out of all these people, 137 people strongly agreed, and 72 people agreed, 28 people disagreed, and 13 are neutral, and 3 are disagreeing. So same thing I'm just putting into a very simple plot. So you can see that your plot is very clearly saying the webinar was more effective. Now, how was the presentation? Let's take the different parameter. There's a presentation column we are picking it and running a plot onto it. You got a plot like this. Now, did the session trigger data science interest? Let's see. Yes, most of people are given things. So based on the given data set, like we have seen strongly disagree, and all these things we have seen. Now let's focus on people, because whenever any kind of feedback comes, we have to look into the negative feedbacks first. That's where we can improve a lot more things. So when we did something like something interesting we found here. So what we did is like we picked only the people who give strongly disagree, and then color their overall rating. So you can see here, I'm just having only the subset of data, which is having only strongly disagreed people, but their overall rating they have given us 5 out of 5. This is strange. This is pretty much strange, because why they need to give this randomly, and maybe they could have not read this thing blindly, they clicked it and submitted it. But one mistake they did is they given a comment. So the comment is in a textual format. Now, I don't have the bandwidth to go and sit and read each and every single text to do the analysis. If I'm able to get a kind of value from that comment, can I see whether the comment, whatever they are telling, is positive or negative or neutral? Let's do that. This is the exact space where I'm just going to do a very simple sentiment analysis. So I'm using a library called TextBlob. So the TextBlob library is nothing but it's a library which calculates the polarity score of that particular text. For example, I'm very happy with the iPhone. Now the polarity will be between 0 and 1. If I'm telling I don't like iPhone at all, it will be between -1 and 0. So if it is 0, then it's a neutral comment. So based on that, I'm just importing the TextBlob library from here, and I'm just creating a very simple sentiment function, which is nothing but it's taking a text into it, and that text I'm passing into the TextBlob, and I'm returning a score. So the score is not from the score, I'm taking the sentiment method. From that, I'm taking the polarity score. Now what I do is like I am taking all the comments from the data frame and I'm applying the sentiment for that, and I'm creating a new column called polarity, and I'm inserting in the 5th position of the data frame. So let's run this. So when I okay, polarity already exists. Okay, so I will uncomment it because I've already run this thing. So let's see. Now you can see there is one new column created, polarity, between 0, 1 and -1, between that range. Now let's take one more step ahead and let's do the same conditional formatting what we did. So I just create a function called color code where I am taking a value, and if the value is equal to strongly agree, then return this color. If the value is agree, return this color. If the value is neutral, agree, return this color. If it is disagree, return this color, and anything above that is this orange color. So I created this basic function. Now I did one thing, like I did one formatting for that. I took all the data with including the question 1, question 2, question 3, and I applied this color code method into this, and I'm doing a bar plot for others also. I mean, any numerical value, I'm doing a polarity. So we already have a polarity value column, so I'm just doing a color code for that. I mean like a basic bar chart, and overall rating also, I'm creating a bar chart of that color. Now let's enter it and see. Now we have created a formatted DF. So now I have converted all the data and I've just color coded also. Let's see what it looks like now. Now you can see here, most people are telling like strongly disagree, 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 but the comment, whatever they are given is a positive comment. It's a positive comment. So this is totally different from this. You can see initially it was a basic comment. Right now it is a score between -1 and 1. 0 is neutral. You can see all the people who are just given the comment, all are like positive comments. But why they did this? So it means these are the people who never attend a session, who blindly take the form and just filled it for the purpose of certificates. Got it? So we understood one use case now, how to see people doubly. Okay, then let's go to the next thing. So stock signals. So this is one very interesting thing. Very recently, I'm just doing a lot of research on this areas. That is like, when you buy any stock in a stock market, okay. So today stock market price will be something. See, tomorrow there is a, for example, I got a stock in Idea. Okay, so tomorrow there is going to be a case which is going to happen. So because of tomorrow's case, lot of people start selling their stocks. Okay, they start selling their stocks. So this time the cost of the stock will be very less. So in this time, people who really are intelligent will start buying that stock, because the thing is like tomorrow's that sentiment really affects lot of sellers. I mean, like if I'm a person who is having a stock, I will be looking into the entire media and different channels to see whether it's going to be a negative thing, whether the company is going on loss, or if the company is going to be on a profit. How to understand this? See, recently Facebook invested on Geo. Immediately on that day, Geo's share values and stock could have sold out just like anything. But if I'm able to predict that tomorrow it's going to happen, today if I'm buying a lot of stocks for that less amount, so then after that time I'm just becoming a millionaire, right? So the thing is like taking a right decision based on different factors are one major challenge in this particular stock market industry. So let's see how can data science help it. In the previous example, you could have seen I have not spoken about any ML or AI. Only whenever there is a need for a sentiment scoring, I'm using it in a minor level. But rest of everything is about, I'm just going deeper analysis about the data first and getting a clarity about the data, right? Now let's see this example. Fine. So what happens here is like, we need to know different newses and what are each news telling about different stocks. So consider like take Economic Times or Money Control, any websites. You may be seeing like different news comes. So you won't believe medias really manipulate the news in order to create a kind of tension among the sellers and buyers and then making them to sell it. Fine. So I am a data scientist, so I have to think little critically and I have to think little practically. What is the best way I can automate this process and analyze what is going to happen rather than going and reading all the text available on the internet. So what we do, what if a news article coming like this, in this, if I'm able to analyze data like this, see these red color boxes are the one which is having a negative news, I mean like a very bad news. And this green color boxes are the one which is having pretty much encouraging news. And the blue color are the neutral news. If I'm able to get these kinds of analysis, it will be pretty much easy. So let's see how we'll do it. So for the purpose of this demo, like I'm taking Google Colab notebook itself. So after this session, I will share this Colab source code, so you can play around with it and see. So first thing is I don't need PyDrive because I'm not taking from Google Drive. I need two libraries, that is TextBlob and Seaborn. So let me install these two libraries. It'll take around 2-3 minutes. And one more thing I forgot. I need pandas also. So pip install pandas. Okay, so I'm just installing pandas also into it. Okay, so once pandas is installed, okay, let me close it. Now I will do one thing, like this is a file where the data is located, that CSV file is located. So I'm just doing a wget. So it will bring the data into my local folder. It will take hardly, yes, it's 5 MB, 36. Okay, 5 MB file. Now I can see the data will be there in my local point, so I can directly reference like that. So what I do is, like, first I take matplotlib just for the plotting purpose, importing pandas, importing cbound. Cbound is a very good data visualization library. Then I'm reading the data file called combine news into a data frame called data. So let's see. Okay, now the data is read. Let's see what are the columns available on the data. So let me show you what the data actually looks like. Let me open the data. That would be really helpful. Show it in the data type. That would be great. So I'll show you first 5 lines. So this is a CSV file which is having about one particular stock. Keep it like DJI. DJI is the one of the stock. So every day, this is the date wise. Top 1, top 2, top 3 are like different news articles about that particular. See, for example, on 8th of this particular month, top 1 to top 25 are the different news medias, and what is an article being collected. So like that, I have taken for that particular stock across time. So if I'm taking like around 20 columns, you will see a lot more. It's a very big data set. You can see different news for that particular stock on different news channels. That is what, like top 1, top 2, top 3, top, like that, top 30 will be there. Now, what makes sense here is, like, I'm not having that amount of time to just go and read one by one and analyze my stock. I have to think little brilliant way. So can I build a story from this data? Yes, we can do. So what I did is, like, exactly import the text blob library. Now just I created one simple function that is the same sentiment function, which is taking a text and it is returning a polarity score. So text can be anything else. I'm passing it inside and I'm just scoring it and returning the polarity value. So I can show you how it works. Like, let me insert one more text below this. Sorry, not text. I want to insert one code below this. I want to bring it down. Okay. Now, sentiment. I am really happy with Python, for example. Okay. So it will return a positive score. It is between 0 and 1. I am not. If I'm just doing it, you can see it is a minus score. I feel I'm okay with Python. No, it's pretty much a positive score. So anything between minus 0 and 1 is positive. Anything between 0 and minus 1 is negative. Anything which is 0 is positive, neutral. Now let's see. We have a lot of columns here. You can see there are a lot of columns being given here, like data, label, and all. Let's only pick the top 1 to top 25. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a list of all the columns I need to focus, and I'm assigning into a variable called columns. Let me add it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go each column wise of this data, and I want to calculate a sentiment for each cells inside this particular thing. That is what this simple line of code does. It's like loop through the column and select the column data frame, select that series, then apply the function sentiment. This is the function, whatever we define. In this function, whatever text you give, it gives a number value back for us. So let's calculate for all the data. So it takes around a few minutes. So let's wait for that. Now what I'm doing is I'm converting all the text inside that particular each cell into a polarity score that is between -1 and 1. So it takes little time to calculate it. But can you see, like, this 2 lines of code does that big chunk of work, which really needs a lot of time if you're doing with any other place. Okay, now I calculator. Now let's see how the data looks like. So you can see now all the news from this point has converted to a number 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I got a kind of way where I can do any kind of predictions. Can you see here there is a variable called label, that is -1 and 0 and 1. Label is nothing but you can build any kind of binary classification or any kind of logistic regression onto this particular model, because initially the data was full of textual data. Right now it has converted to a numerical data. Now I can pretty much work out with. But before building any model, as a data storyteller, I really need to see what makes this data, what kind of pattern does this data make. So what I do is like I just do a conditional formatting and applying a background gradient. Let's see how the data looks. Okay, now you can see that simple 2-line of code really need a very interesting thing. Like, let me reduce the size of it so I can pretty much see. Zoom out. Okay. Now, so much. Okay. Now you can see this on this day. On this day, I think all these news channels are giving pretty much positive feedback, except these two news channels are giving negative, and 21 is really telling about some bad news about us. And on this date, you can see all these people. This channel is highly positive and highly confident for us. Likewise, you can see the color shows that the red means it is negative, something bad news, and the green it means it is something positive. They are trying to talk, and that's what you can see here. So one very interesting thing what you can see here is like top 20 and top 22, when you go down, they're consistently giving only positive news for all these things. So you can see from that data itself, these two news channels can be biased. We can be biased, and they are specifically only creating positive news of us. So you can see a steady line here. Can you see? So this is where a story starts building. Now you can even use the same data which is pre-processed to build a prediction model. This -1 and 1 are the labels to predict. So what happens is like first understand the data better before touching or talking about model. That's what is the intention of this particular use case. Fine. Okay. Now we have seen what is stock market pointers. Let's do a very simple sentiment analysis on a social media. What is the purpose? See, as a CEO of a company, I may be very much excited to know how is my product performing across different locations. Or if I'm a movie maker, I want to see how are people like accepting my movie, whether there is any kind of negative sentiment. So whenever any negative sentiment comes, it will be on social media. So as a CEO or as a decision maker, I have to be little precautious, and I have to be little forward thinker to see how people take or talk about my movie. So what we do, we fetch all the data from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. in this textual format, then convert it into scores like positive, negative, and things. Finally, convert it into a graph, which is like a chloroplex, showing like across these locations. These are the two locations where there is a huge negative polarity being given. So let's see how we'll do the same use case also on Python itself. So let me take you here. Let me increase the font size. So first I need two packages. In order to fetch all the detail from Twitter, I want a package called tweep, and the same text blob we use it. We don't need to take a very advanced NLP libraries such as like Spacey, NLTK, and all these things. We need something pretty much simple where we can play around with it. So first I'm just taking and I'm installing it, the basic two packages. Let it get installed. Okay. Okay, it's installed. Now let's import the package as well as that text blob library. But in order to take data from Twitter, we need 4 things. That is like a consumer key, a consumer secret, an access token, and access token secret. So these you can get it from developer.twitter.com will be there. So if you visit this particular website, ultimately you can create a simple app. For that app, they will give you an access token, access key, and all those things. So you can see here, you can go and create an app. I've already created an app. So let me show you details. So here you can see keys and tokens. So copy these 2 things and click the regenerate. So you will get access token and secret also. Just after this session, I will give this code. You can just replace it, whatever this 4 factors. Okay. So let me take these things. Now what I need to do, I need to instantiate this particular class. That means I need to create an authorization. First, I have imported the class, make the class to connect with the Twitter. So I'm using tweepy.auth handler, pass the consumer key, consumer secret, and save it into a file called, save it into a variable called auth. And next is in that auth, I'm going to set the access token also. So access token and key, these 4 factors I'm just passing. Now my API, my library is ready. I'm clicking that like, okay. Now let's see all my timelines. If I go to Twitter, okay, if I go to Twitter, ultimately you can see a lot of news comes in Twitter. So I'll just show you how it works. You can see this is what is happening in Twitter. So I want to fetch all the details which comes in my timeline. Okay. Okay. Can you see here? A lot of news are coming. Let me go to the same thing, and I'm just using the API.home timeline method and saving it into a file called public tweets. Then I'm looping into it and printing the text. So if I'm running this line, you can see all the detail which came in that timeline has come here. Now, all this are having a lot of URLs and etc. and all, but I don't want that to happen. Now, let me see as a CEO or anyone, like I want to see only specific things. So I want to see only about iPhone or coronavirus or COVID-19. I want to fetch all the data regarding COVID-19, and I'll take the languages thing. Then API.search, and I'm passing that query here, and language also I'm passing, and saving the result into a variable called results. Then I'm just doing one simple for loop to print it. So let me enter it. So you can see these are the news which have come regarding COVID-19. Different news being printed. So let's clean all the URLs from the tweet. So I have to remove all the URLs from the tweets, from the text. So I wrote one simple function that is like it will take a text, and from the text it will remove all the URLs and return back only the pure text. Then again we'll do the same thing by applying that function here into the tweet. Let's print it and see. Okay, all the URLs have been removed. Now let's do the same sentiment calculation for that. So I've written the same function here, and let me run. I'm passing the text value inside this sentimental function and entering it. So you can see here, okay, the first line, it calculates the sentiment score. Okay, let's make it a little more easier for us. Rather than returning a score, let me write if sentiment score polarity is equal to 0, return neutral. Okay. If score dot sentiment dot polarity equal to, greater than 0, return it's a positive news. Okay. If score dot sentiment polarity lesser than 0, then return it's a negative news. And again, let me come down and run it. Now you can see which is a positive. This is a neutral news, positive news, neutral, positive. So I'm able to do the same kind of analysis what I was telling here using a very simplified 10 lines of code. So you don't need to know extraordinary Python in order to solve this kind of problem. You need a basic knowledge about how to handle a library and how to use a library to solve these kinds of problems. So fine. Now we have seen sentiment analysis onto it. Now consider like I'm a company which is having, consider like I'm Amazon. Amazon will be having a very big HR play where every day more than 10,000 resumes comes into the picture. So when all this resumes comes into the picture, ultimately it is very tough for my HR team to go one by one resume, because I have to be very much careful in fetching of the people, but same time I should not go exhausted by filtering this much resume. If I'm getting this much resumes per day, it is very tough to filter. So how can data science and little levels of story makes a sense? Let's see. So let's take a resume. A resume is nothing but just a soft copy which is in the form of PDF. Now one resume comes into the picture. So we take the resume and we do a basic processing and convert all the content inside the resume into a paragraph. right? Like this, we have to convert it. Now, from this paragraph, let's do one thing. Let's do a basic frequency count. Let's remove all the stop words like the, is, in, and all these things words. We'll remove it and only take the important keywords. And this is the scoring chart which I have kept. For each keyword, what is the score I am giving? If it is a C++, 5, Python, 5, programming, 2, because programming is a generic term. Python is a little more specific to that particular domain. Excel is a generic term, so I give 2. So pivot table is something deeper inside that, so I'll give more points for. So like that, I will have my own wish. I'll be having my own scorecard. Based on this scorecard comparison, let me take all the keywords which are important for me and score it, and calculate the total. Means count the total number of occurrence in the resumes and do a total count of 23.5. Now I got score of one resume, that is 23.5. Likewise, I'll do for all the use case. Consider Mike's resume, Jack's resume, Kevin. I calculated the score for all the person. Now, if I sort this column, I know highest score. I pick on the top 3 or top 10 person whom I need to interview. But this is not enough. We are a little more intelligent people. We need a little more idea about data science. We can apply data science here. So what we do, we take support from social medias. Now, from social media, we gather different data about the personality and their interest, etc. You can see Mike, he scores 23.5, but he's a very social buff, and he's highly interested in politics and sports. Okay. Next comes Jack. Jack is pretty quiet person in social media, and his interest is towards arts. You know, like always arts people are most of the time quiet. And next comes Kevin. He's an extrovert and his interests are politics and public. So what happens here is like I'm adding more data points to it for finding the right candidate. Now, after getting these data, I just need to sort any column of my choice, which I give more preference, and pick those candidates. This is the reason most of the time whenever you apply for an job interview or any job portal, ultimately your resumes won't get shortlisted because there is a secret like this which is happening. Fine. Let's go next level, data in action. So let me take you one step ahead. Okay, after implementation of GST, okay, HIV/AIDS transmissions started to decline. This is one very interesting thing which we found, that is like after the implementation of GST, the HIV/AIDS transmission rates totally started to decline. And by the way, please remember that I'm not for the Modi or against Modi, but from the point of data, I'm just talking. So let's see why. So, you know, before GST happens, this is a scenario which happens in every state borders, highways. Whenever one vehicles cross from one state border to another state border, right now you may be knowing that whenever in COVID situation, we are always looking in the state border highways and all the city and all this border checkposts we are having. So this is not like that. This is something called an octroi. Means before GST, whenever any vehicle has to pass from one state to another state, it has to stay in this kind of place where there are multiple taxes like custom tax, sales tax, and different types of tax are there. So maybe today morning I may be arriving in the vehicle, and tomorrow night only I will be able to move from this particular point. So that 24 hours I have to be in the same place. And what relates to this? So when we took a basic survey, I was understanding HIV transmission rate and who are the potential carriers. Around 90% of the carriers are sex workers. The next to second majority of people are truck drivers. So what happens is during this octroi, these locations are the place where sex workers are very active. So what happens is ultimately when drivers get infected and they take it to their family also ultimately. So very recently there was a study which happened. In this study, they randomly picked 50 drivers and did a test for them. You won't believe, like close to 50% of people were having STDs, because this is one very critical space where this waiting time is very critical. So what impact that GST made? I'll tell you. See, after implementation of GSTs, these vehicles doesn't need to stop in any check post for more than 10 minutes. They keep moving. Only one tax. They don't need to wait 24 hours. They keep moving. This also, a data was trying to tell a story, right? Next, this is a data set of what to say, this uh, rental vehicle bikes are there where people start paying and start using like what you use in bounce and all these things. Based on this data, in US, this kind of basic analysis happened. So what happened is like the same data will be having all the transactional records of who, which person took and where he dropped, etc. So whenever you're trying to tell a story, don't pick all the columns. Pick one column. So in this analysis, let's see the gender column. If you take multiple columns, it will definitely divert you. But whenever you're trying to tell a story, start with one column. Pick one aspect. So here we spoke about like gender. And when this kind of data has been plotted on like a map like this, chloropleth map, you can see this in the top here, this yellow section. This place is highly male dominant. So when a data is being plotted in the right type of graph, ultimately it is telling a story there, right? It is highly male dominant because there you can see around close to 80% to 89% are only males, this entire place. Only other places, females keep moving, transit, etc. Fine. Now, one example is, so can we see what people search in Google? Like Google is the best place for doing any kind of data science researches. So let's see what people search in Google. So what we did is like, in Google, if you go to Google search engine, if you type something like why is dash so dash can be anything, like you can put any state name. So what we did is like we put all the state names and checked what is the frequently coming auto suggestion. So why is Kerala so, if you type, there are 10 suggestion comes in that, what is the top of suggestion. Based on that, we created a very simple map. You can see why is Kerala so God's own country. Okay, that's a high frequent keyword they search. Next is, if you see why is Tamil Nadu so against Hindi. Okay, and if you see why is Andhra Pradesh so splitting, and why is Telangana created, why is Maharashtra richest state, and why is Madhya Pradesh poor, why is Gujarat a dry state, why is Rajasthan desert. So what happens is the present data which comes from Google itself, the trend of itself is telling a story about all these places. Fine. So let's see how it works. Okay. So we try to play around with it. There is okay, let me reconnect it. Okay. There is one very interesting library called PyTrends. PyTrends is nothing but, if you visit trends.google.com, trend.google. Okay. If you visit this website, ultimately you can see a lot of trends coming inside. Let's access this data and try to play around with it and see what kind of analysis we can bring it. This is very useful when you are doing a lot of market analysis, or you have to analyze about a stock or any kind of things happening. This is a very interesting place to play around with it. So to make it simple, there is a library called PyTrends. Okay, so I've installed this library. After installing the library, let me import trend request from PyTrends request. Okay, okay. Now what I did is, like, in this thing, I'm passing en.us. I'm only focusing on the Google version, which is google.com. Okay. Now I'm passing my payload. So I can keep around keywords like this. Okay. Let me put few keywords. It can be any numbers. Let me see Apple versus Android. Apple iPhone versus Android. Two things I'm taking. And I'm just seeing from today, pick the last 3 months data. And India, geography is from India point of view, and save it into a file called data. So let's run this. Okay. Now data is fetched. Okay, let's see how the data looks like. Now I can see for both the thing, my data has been gathered. It is in the real time. Now let's see between Apple, iPhone versus Android in last 3 months. I'm creating a plot from this. Now you can see Android is highly popular since last 3 months, and Apple is only on one day there is a slide. So what happens here is, like, your data which comes from real life, you can do anything. For example, you can see about like Bahubali, and you can see any movie KJF. I want to see all the data related to that, which is popular in Google. Let's plot it and see. Wow, both have gone one-on-one. Both are like pretty much highly spoken movies. So what happens? Even I can add one more movie, anything like you can put any movie of your choice, or okay, idiots report. Okay, let's scrape the data about idiots. So this data you can convert into pandas data frame and convert into a CSV and do any kind of further analysis also. So yes, I take all these three. I don't think Three Idiots was highly spoken. You can see it's pretty much neutral, but these two are like magnum opus movies, so that's why it's pretty much highly spoken. So consider this data and the sentiment data of all these things. If I'm using in my stock market analysis, ultimately I will be able to predict how is my stock moving, what is the chances of predicting, what kind of things can happen in the days. Yes, now I check with two things. Can you see trending search in India? So I'm just doing PyTrends or trend search in India, and I'm let me enter it and see. You can see the today in India the trending is Barcelona versus Leganes. The next, the second highest trending is Father's Day date. Then next is this India. It is fine. Like now United States. Hopefully I'm wrong. Let's see. London. It's wrong. So let's see. You can check all the keywords here itself, like the parameters which you can pass for that geographies are given there. Okay. Rather than IN, I will put for 12 months. I can go and search all categories. These are, can you see, these are the payloads, whatever we can use it. So let's check with India itself, because we have less time. Okay, India itself. Last 100 top trending things.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Could you zoom in the screen if it is possible? Because some people can't see the. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah. So you can see here, like when I'm running to pytrends.search, and for in India, you can get all this in Pakistan. Let's see, Pakistan. Definitely it should work. No, I think I have to give a proper code name. So I'll get you the code names. I'll put a list of all the code names. I mean, like the PN names. Text is like, you can even check out in a chart also, like this, like top charts in 2019 based on this globally. What is the data looks like? Yes. So what happens is, even you can build different queries about like PyTrends, build like how do I, whatever the question I've given now, like that you can give different questions and run it and see. It will score it and give you this data. It is really interesting because I'm telling you, it gives you more and more idea about what is Google actually doing. And from here, you can directly take this data and convert it into a CSV file, and you can use it for your analysis. So this is all about Google. Now, I have said about different stories from different perspectives on different use cases. So the next important question, which most of the time we think is like, can we automate this data narratives? Can I make this data narrative more automated rather than me manually drilling down deep into it? Let's see. So
let's meet Jack. Jack has been appointed as a data scientist at Acme Limited, and his first task was to analyze a dataset of 2 GB size. Now, Jack has to find out a way to generate insights from this particular dataset with minimal effort. But Jack has other problems. Size of the file is huge, and Jack thinks, can I use a spreadsheet? Or can I automate this analysis? Now comes the most interesting point, Cognito. Cognito is a new library which has been launched in Python community, which help you to solve a couple of issues, like help you to fill missing values intelligently, helps you to clean your data using command line. It can help you to auto pre-process your data, audit your data quality, and finding interesting patterns. And most importantly, it auto generates interesting insights from your data. So let's see how we can use Cognito in our real world example, variables encoded. Now let's do the most interesting point of it. I can see this file here. Let me run Cognito, audit, and I'm giving the input file name as, and I will give an output as a report. Cognito automatically generates a very interesting report which can be accessible by this file. Once we open this file, now we can see it gives a meta summary about the data, the number of missing values, total categorical, continuous, and here you can see the descriptive statistics about each data. And the most interesting thing which comes here is an auto-generated questions. You can see, you can even listen to it, or you can type for highest, lowest, or if you're interested, you can even give a voice recognition like highest population. It's not there. Or even you can just listen to an auto-generated story by
based on the given dataset, here is the interesting insights found by Cognito. There are totally 13 features, in that 3 are categorical variable and 3 are continuous variable. Highest last update was 74 of province, state and way is in way. Lowest last update was 1 of province, state Bavaria is Bavaria. Highest confirmed is 14,766 for province, state Hubei is 14,766. Lowest confirmed is 1 for province, state Chicago is 1. Highest deaths is 556 for province, state Hubei is 556. Lowest deaths is 0 for province, state Zhejiang is 0.
We can understand. Cognito simplifies the process of data pre-processing and automated data storytelling. Thank you. So what you have seen right now is an automated library which does all these kinds of data narratives. And the good news is like it's already launched in the Python community and we are in the beta state. And the next biggest good news is it's been released in open source. It's a collaborative research by Clever Insight and Christ University. So most people from Christ and Clever Insight collaborated to build this. And right now it is alive in Python community. You can install the same library from any part of the world just using pip install Cognito. So why we did this is like mainly we need to make the data storytelling more exciting, where it has to be more of automated way of doing it. So rather than sitting and taking an Excel and doing the drilling down, what if I'm able to get the base story automatically generated? That's where this Cognito comes in. So it's purely an open source, and we are looking for people who can become a contributor, or you can join into the community for more detailed thing. So what is the key takeaway here is like, ask the right questions, the data will confess. And most important thing is, in data science, you may talk about machine learning, deep learning, and NLP, but if it is not giving you a proper business outcome, then that will just become a research and kept idle. So business outcome is the most important thing we have to give value for. Then using ML, DL, and NLP should be a part of problem solving, not the entire ecosystem. So it's more of, when you create any kind of analysis, if it cannot be properly bought into a good story, then it becomes very much useless. That's the key takeaway. So kindly leave your feedbacks into this particular URL. It will be really grateful if everyone are, I can just post this link in the chat section. And now I'm open for questions.
Thank you, sir. So we will move on to the Q&A session. We have 15 minutes left for the next session to start. So we have one question from Shilpi Sinha. She asked, should I go for Kaggle to become good in making projects or any other way?
See, when you start beginning with any kind of machine learning model or anything else, yes, Kaggle is a good place to go and play around with it, because rather than blindly trying to solve a problem, at least there is a problem definition given. You can just play around with it. But I won't say just spend more time on Kaggle, because there are a lot of business use cases. Consider like you are having a very small shop, or your friend's shop, or your father's coffee shop, anything like that. They generate data. If you take such kind of data and convert that data into insight and build a actionable decision, and implement your research onto that and see, measure the impact, that is more valuable than Kaggle. So I will say, when you solve business problems right from beginning, let it be any small thing. You don't need always ML and DL to solve anything, because there are a lot of areas where 70% of problems can be solved using MS Excel itself. But if you're able to take right decisions from whatever analysis you are doing, that is the core of it. And I'm telling you, it is very easy to get lost in the ML and DL ecosystem. It should be used as a supporter for us rather than completely diving deep into it.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have another question from Deepa Tiagu. To what extent we need to know statistics to become a good data scientist?
I can say data science is, you can see, you don't need to know like extraordinary statistics, okay? Because like you need to know basic mean, median, variance, standard deviation, and all these things. I would say there is a book called ThinkStat. It's around 80 or 90 pages book. That book really can help you to know the fundamental about statistics, whatever is needed for data science. Because if you learn too much things, you will easily get lost into this complete ecosystem. But if you learn the right thing at the right space and start using it in day-to-day life, so if you learn one concept today, try to implement it today the same day, ultimately it will really help you to become more stronger in that domain. So
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
So Rashi Jaiswal has commented as well. Please suggest some temporal data preparation tools or mechanism.
Okay, good tools are like, yes, if you're really handling large data, Pandas is a very good data preparation tool. But one thing is like, please don't, this is a humble request to everyone, like please don't directly jump into tool and focus on techniques. Start sitting on a data and see, looking through each variables and see how the data is varying. Can I understand certain things from that? Like lot of deeper insights you have to take from that. So I would say like you need to focus on your basic spreadsheet and pandas more than anything else.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So there's another question. Sivagami Ravi Chandar has asked, like, is it possible to analyze the image data?
Definitely. See, image is nothing but, image is a collection of pixels. Each pixel is having a value into it. Okay, I mean like zeros and between like 25, for example, RGB value is there. So when you can take an image and finally convert it into, you can bring it down into next level. This is one common assignment which I give for most of our interns. That is like whenever they come into as an intern, first thing is we give a set of 10 images and ask them to write one simple program which should take each image and calculate each HSL value for it and create a CSV file. So once it comes to a CSV, then it's easy to analyze it from that.
Okay, thank you, sir. There's another question from Danush Gondla. Can you please provide references for the GST and HIV/AIDS work?
Yes, we will just show that because it's little confidential point, but let me check it out how much I can just make it open.
Okay, so thank you. There's a question from Akhil M. Nair. Is there any limitations or things to take care of while doing storytelling?
Absolutely, there is a lot more things you need to look, because in the first slide itself I've said like with greater power comes greater responsibility. When you take a simple chart and if you're plotting a data which is not relevant to that chart, ultimately the chart itself will lie. So there is a book called How Chart Lies. So try to take that kind of books and start understanding. But I would say any analysis will become better if you have little domain knowledge about that aspects.
Okay, thank you, sir. There's another question from Subiksha J. G. What is the pathway to learn data science?
The pathway to learn data science is pretty simple only. That is like forget the mentality of full becoming a complete data scientist. Try to become a data scientist in your own domain. Let me, for example, if I'm a chemist, I'm very much knowing about my domain. I can take data science knowledge and implement it into my same what to say domain. So I know my domain better, and data science is like different techniques where I can apply it in my own domain. So here, the most important thing is that four layers I was telling, like descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Prescriptive layer is already there with you. Now, if you take your data science skill into it, ultimately you will become a data scientist in your own domain.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So there's another question. Sabrina M. She's asked, like, is there any good AI tool for data predictions?
AI is nothing but it's about it's a collection of all these things. What we're talking in data science is only on AI, where NLP, ML, and all these things are applied. There is no one specific tool to do this because these all are separate segments of works being done, and all these things are combined together. Only it becomes an AI point.
Okay, thank you, sir. There's a question from Vignesh Shwi. Is asking which is the best tool to use sentimental analysis and how it will work.
Sentiment analysis, the text blob is a pretty good tool, and we are also in Clever Insight. We are going to release our one platform called Predict EC, which is going to simplify this task, like where you can do sentiment analysis on your MS Excel itself. So people who are not having programming skill can directly use your MS Excel or Sheets to do all the sentiment analysis onto it.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, another question asked by Danush Gondla. Is the GST and HIV/AIDS work done by Clever Insight?
No, it's a collaborative work done by Clever Insight with combination of Gramener and Government of India also.
Okay, sir. Okay. We have another question from Dr. S. Niraimati Senthil Kumar is asking, are the outcome of deep learning and data analytics the same?
Deep learning and data analytics, yeah, definitely. But after doing all the data analysis, next comes the point of, for example, when the prediction comes. Or in the third phase, which I was telling, that the predictive phase, predicting about future. There you will be using ML, and ML is nothing but if you're talking about pen, the next is the deeper about pen, nib, ink, and all these things is deep learning. Deep learning is nothing but it's a subset of machine learning which involves deeper understanding on certain things, specifically on image recognition, voice recognition, all these things. Here, for example, very simple example, what I can say is like in the Titanic example, I have shown you a couple of columns, right? Name, age, and all these things. Those are handling with machine learning. But if I am not having those columns, if I'm directly taking an image and putting into a deep learning model will automatically create new features from that. It will extract features and build the prediction. Here, I don't need to exclusively tell the features. A deep learning model by default extract these features and build more prediction from that.
Okay, sir. Okay, there's another question from Vignesh. How security is working in data science?
I didn't get the question properly. In what context?
Vignesh, could you please elaborate a little bit in the comment section? It would be nice. So there's another question. Till then, you can. Deepa Tiago again. Please tell the difference between the data analyst and the data scientist.
Okay, so to become a data scientist, like there are a couple of ways. There are two entry points. One is either you have to become a data analyst first or a data engineer first. Then from there you have to become a senior data engineer and like a senior data analyst, lead data analyst or lead data engineer. Then you become a data scientist. So there are two different ways. Where analyst comes from the way where he's specifically focused on analyzing and exploring the data, and another person who data engineer comes from the where he applies a lot of engineering methodologies to handle large set of data and do the analysis. So both people are more important. So data scientist is an ultimate end, but data analyst and data engineer are the path towards two different paths to meet that final destination.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Okay, by Rashi Jaiswal is a question asked, which is the best technique used to analyzing the time-based data and how can we measure the quality of data?
Time-based data can be specifically used by a time series. I can say like rather than it's one of my favorite area also. Like rather than talking too much about ML and DL, NLP and time series are some of the rock solid areas where you can really tell a lot of things, and it is very much like a deeper science. It is having a very big theory behind it. I would say like people who comes from data science, if they are telling ML and DL, I won't get impressed. If they are telling I'm know time series and I know NLP in that specific on unstructured data, then I get more impressed with it. So I can say time series analysis, and different models on time series are really best things to work on to it. There you have different metrics to measure the quality of the work also.
Okay, sir. Thank you. For the Vignesh question, if he has to elaborate the question, it would be nice, or else we would. Okay, so there's another question by Sumitra Binu. Sir, how can we ensure the veracity of data collected for analysis, as we may have to collect the data from multiple resources?
It is pretty challenging thing because like when you take any kind of analysis, you get data from heterogeneous environment, like maybe from social media, from inventories and all this thing. There really we really need to have an idea like what type of analysis are we going to do. So some basic questions what we need to do is like I showed in the first slide for whom you are going to show it and what you are trying to show it and why it is so important. These three questions, what are the most important data required? Try to gather everything and then you have to do manual data wrangling. That's the reason I can see in machine learning, deep learning are only 20% of entire data science ecosystem. Rest of 70% is about preparing the data, understanding the data, and converting and data like converting and transforming into different purpose where we can use it. So I feel like that is the 70% of actual data science job is. When data comes from different layers, you need to sit manually and do things, or you can use several ETL tools in order to extract such data also.
Okay, so
Yeah.
thank you. So Vignesh Sri has asked, what is the role of security in data science? The same question which you.
Role of security, I don't know whether you're asking about whether it is whether doing data science tasks are secure enough or whether well can we apply data science on security domains. So let me take the second question, that is like see in area of security there are lot of ways where we can use data science. You can see understanding fraud, understanding anomalies, understanding any kind of threat. Everything the machine can find the pattern much faster than human. So it's the opportunities are pretty much huge in security area for data science.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think we'll wind up the question Q&A session over here. I'll move on to the vote of thanks.
Yeah,
Uh,
we can share the URL for that. I'm
yes,
putting the URL so everyone
yes, sir.
can
Yes,
put
sir. Please share your URL so that people
so
can.
kindly leave your feedbacks in this particular URL. It would be really helpful. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do little more level of analysis because that is our main area.
yeah.
Fine.
So,
Thank you.
people who have any questions or any doubts regarding today's session, please do. If you have any doubts, you can mail it to him so that he can clear your doubts anytime.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So feel
I,
free to yeah.
yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. I, on behalf of Christ ACM Student Chapter, would like to thank Mr. Bastin Robin J. for taking out his valuable time and providing us with such an insightful information on topics like handling and the data, responsibility of handling the data, scope of the data, and giving us the practical sessions on stock signal, sentiment analysis, HR resume scoring, and giving different data stories and use cases. We thank you so much, sir. I would also like to thank Head of the Department of Computer Science, Professor Joy Paulos, coordinators, and faculty members for their presence and support. I would also like to thank ACM chapter members, research scholars, and all other participants for attending this session. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving such a beautiful opportunity to share whatever I have known. And even I'm just continuously putting a lot of upcoming webinars are also happening. Even the next webinar is happening in Christ Lavaza also. I think you can get those details also from these websites, so you can get connected onto it and feel free to attend webinars. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Robin sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
So we would like to attend more number of sessions, more
Sure.
collaborations, sir. Yes.
We'll plan it in subsequent days.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Feel free to post your questions. Like I'd be happy to answer. Like I can give my email ID also, robin@cleverinsight.co. So thank you, madam. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, all. The next session will start at 4 o'clock. So now we will break for tea.